Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today's Sunday, the 29th of June, 2025, and this is the Weekend Roundup. Hey up, you bleeders. Well, here we are at the end of International Fight Week. A week that started with Dana's announcement on Azerbaijan that John Jones had retired, and ended with Dana saying the UFC doesn't do fun. Fortunately for us, most of the fighters from what, for me, were today's fights, because the early prelims didn't even kick off until the midnight hour here in Blighty, chose to give us all a pretty entertaining card. I'm your host, Dangermouse, and I'd like to ask anyone that hasn't subscribed yet to click that button, ring that bell so you don't miss any notifications when we get our act together and produce some content for you lovers of the arts mixed martial. Help us reach our very modest target of 200 subscribers. Thank you very much. Fortunately for me and for all of you, I'm joined by a couple of other guys who also enjoy talking about fighting. No big intros because we have a lot to talk about tonight. First up, my regular co-host, Lazybed. How's it going, mate? You all fired up and ready to talk some fights?
Oh, hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Fantastic night of fights. The UFC is back. Dare I say, the UFC is back.
Seems that way. And our second man, for the second time in 2 weeks, it's JBR's unseen and unsung hero, our most valuable player, our editor-in-chief, is Super Dave Fairtex. Hey, Dave, you're all ready to go?
Oh, yeah. Like, super ready.
Sounds it. No Special can't join us this week. He appeared on the MK Discord shortly after Oliveira had lost, and perhaps fueled by an unknown number of 8% beers, was very salty and said that he couldn't wait to laugh at me when Dakota Dishever lost. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but I can't allow my girl to be disrespected like that, so I've timed him out for a week, or maybe two. We'll see. Anyway, enough of our nonsense. Let's get on with the fights. After a mostly exciting bunch of prelim fights, more on those later, it was time for a fight with draft implications as Peyton Talbot faced Felipe Lima in what was definitely a main card fight. Last time out, Talbot fell prey to the grappling experience of an older man. Make your own Frank Ocean jokes. As Ronnie Barcelos, yes, Ronnie Larry, took Peyton's O. Lots of us, including myself, thought that Lima, with his extra experience, would seek a similar path to victory. But instead he found himself lacking in that department. Talbot, obviously having invested a lot of his time off to improving his own grappling skills, and if anything, Lima should have stuck to striking because he was doing much better there. But apparently Peyton hits pretty hard because Lima didn't want to play that game, and he ignored the pleas of his corner to stop going for takedowns. And for me, after getting a clean sweep on the prelims, this was my first loss, and I don't want to talk about it anymore, so I'll pass it on to the man who managed to grab I don't know how many points for his draft team. It's our man, Lazybed. Take it away, Lazy, and don't bring it back.
Well, I believe the amount of points I won with this fight was 15. Win in a show. Yeah, I believe so. Either way, yeah, he is back. The man is back. And so is his hair. Thank God. Peyton Talbot finally growing that fucking hair back out. Yeah, tagline for this fight. And you touched on it, Mouse. What a difference 6 months can make. Like, when you're 26 years old and you're full of piss, vinegar, and Frank Ocean, 6 minutes or 6 months can make all the difference, rather. Yeah, just rampant improvements in the grappling department, in the takedown defense, in get-ups, in offensive grappling, top control, even the ground and pound. Like, it really was a... I don't know if I want to call it a coming-of-age fight exactly for Peyton Talbot, but he showed that he's developing layers to his game. The flashy stand-up striker that we knew him as isn't all that he has. It's not the only trick in the tool set that he could turn to. But, yeah, man, the one thing I will say, though, for him, I'm a bit concerned with how much he was getting hit. He's a little bit too willing to test his chin. And that could find him, get him in trouble in the future. He could find himself in trouble with that. But it should not be your path or style to get to victory, to test your chin like that and allow yourself to be hit that much. Because you're going to come into contact with some real hammers in this division. And, yeah, things could get a bit dicey there. But all in all, I thought it was a phenomenal performance from him. That very first round, as soon as he was able to defend the takedown attempt and I think actually reverse Lima and wind up on top, it was like a huge, just wipe the sweat from the brow, whew, type moment. And yeah, from there I was pretty confident that my draft selection would be at least securing me a decent little amount of points. I was hoping for the finish, which didn't come. A few moments where it looked like it could have, but yeah. And then also I liked the call out of Adrian Yanez from Talbot. I think it's a fitting matchup in both skill and ranking, and it's also a guaranteed fun ass fucking fight. You put those two dudes in there, let them get the swing in their hands. It's going to be a fun night. And then the closing topic for me on this one is just it's a big theme of the night for me throughout the card and in this fight as well. A major lack of head movement and then also bad corner advice. The lack of head movement in this one being Peyton Talbot. Learn to move your fucking head a little bit, dude, side to side. It's not that tough. And terrible coaching on the side of Lima because they should have given him some better direction because he was piecing Talbot up on the feet a little bit, and I think that he should have stopped, like you said, Dangermouse, stop trying to wrestle and kind of keep this thing on the toes. And you might have found more success and possibly a different result. But yeah, all in all, fun fight for me.
Yeah, in defense of Lima's corner, they were telling him not to keep going for takedowns.
That's true, but you gotta find some way to get through to this guy. I did hear him saying something about the power of Talbot, so he was hesitant. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you got out to say on this one, Dave?
Oh yeah, I don't have much to say on this. Lazy covered just about everything. I will say I also thought it was nice to see Talbot come back. He was almost a super prospect before his last fight, and that loss might actually have been good for his career. He went back, he reset, worked on his game. I was expecting more from Lima. I wasn't that familiar with him, just off like MMA podcasts last week and the odds and stuff. I kind of leaned towards him. I do enjoy watching, I guess Lima was 3 of 15 takedowns. So, that's one of my favorite things to see in MMA is the guy spam grappling and get shut down over and over again. So, I like seeing that. And it's good to see Talbot back in the conversation and, just learn from his loss and look great again. I mean, maybe not look great, but look good for where he's at. And I can't wait to see what's next. I also like the Yanez call out. And
yeah, he needs to clean his ears out, as they say.
Yeah. Well, maybe his English isn't good. And well, he was fighting out of Sweden too. I think that was kind of weird, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
he's from Brazil, but he left Brazil to go train in Sweden, and
he clearly looks like a white guy. So
yeah, he does have kind of a Swedish look to him. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Next up, we had the veterans at lightweight. Beneil Dariush facing Renato Money Moicano. At the end of the round one, it looked like Money was going to get it done. He knocked Beneil down and he tried for the finish. Couldn't manage it though. And in round two, Dariush evened things up, controlling the round via grappling. And we would see in round three, he drained the energy from Moicano. His arms were, Moicano, he was left throwing punches from noodle arms that seemed to have absolutely no sting behind them. Very poor performance in those later rounds by Moicano. I won't say his name, but I think a particular commentator that I watch actually said this was going to happen to Moicano. Maybe I should listen to him more. Anyway, I was the only guy from Just Feed Radio that picked Moicano, and so I'd better hand this off to Dave and let him have his say.
This was a solid performance from Dariush. It went mostly how I expected it to go, except I kind of didn't expect Moicano to look so good in round one with his striking and actually put down Dariush for a moment. I guess it does kind of make sense, though. He does crack, and a lot of Dariush's success and when outside of wrestling does come from wild striking exchanges. So I guess it shouldn't be that surprising. Moicano kind of stung him up a little bit. It is interesting that Dariush didn't go for any takedowns in round one, and in round 2 and 3 he was 100% for every takedown he tried he got. So Dariush is one of the best BJJ guys in the division, and great wrestling too. So he just he's got got more than enough skill gap over Marcano to take advantage of that particular skill set and get it done. Just kind of, not to toot my own horn, but I kind of saw the fight going that way, with them being so close and all their stats and age and almost skill levels. Beneil's always been closer to like the title elite level, and Moicano's got a history of kind of losing those fights. So not surprising output. I don't know what's next for Beneil. I don't really care. I don't think he'll ever get a title shot, but good performance. Great job, Beneil. Moicano will be back, but not at this level.
No, probably not. Yeah, Benny, no chance of getting a title shot. I agree, especially not with lightweight as it is at the moment. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for him. Gatekeeper role assumed at whatever number they stick him at, maybe number 10 or whatever. Get rid of Chandler out there, put Dariush in instead. Lazy, what you got? Anything to add on this one? I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I've definitely got some things to say on this one. Although that was a good breakdown from Dave there. I like what he said. Like, we, not to toot our own horns, but we kind of got this one right on the money on our little impromptu preview show on last week's Scuffle. Although Benny doesn't have much left in the chin department, Moicano doesn't really hit the hardest, and when it came to the grappling, it just virtually canceled out. And if anything, Dariush was a little bit better. But my tagline for this fight was Moicano needs to hire a financial advisor, because for someone who can't afford to lose, he's doing a whole lot of it, clearly mismanaging his funds. But yeah, just mainly the thing that struck me the most in this fight was not the win for Dariush. It was not the lackluster performance for Moicano. It was Benny's chin, like I just touched on. His chin really is starting to fucking worry me, because he barely got, rocked a little bit by that shot that Moicano threw, and it knocked him on his fucking ass against the cage, and he went down real quick. And if he hadn't, been able to gather himself as rapidly as he was, it could have been bad news for him, and that could have been, the end of the night. So, and he's shown it in his last several fights. If you hit that dude on the chin, if you could touch the button, you don't even have to touch it hard, he's probably going down. That thing's holding on by a thread. The chin don't have many whiskers left, so that leads me kind of into my next point. I thought that Dariush was going to call it a career. It seemed to me, especially in his post-fight speech and the way he was acting afterwards, like he was wanting to maybe call it a career. And I think that that's really all the incentive you need to hang him up, is if you're thinking it and you're considering it that strongly, you're getting emotional in your post-fight speech and talking about, you don't know where the road's going to lead you, it's probably time, especially when your chin is getting a bit suspect. And we know in this sport, every time you go out there, you're putting your health and your livelihood and everything on the line. So going out there with thoughts of retirement in your heart and a cracked chin is a recipe for disaster for Beneil. So I think he may really want to consider that being his final fight, even though you didn't get that big send-off in the cage afterwards, because you didn't announce it. You're going out off a win. The road ahead at lightweight is super duper tough. I think it's just time. But yeah. And then I hope, my other side of this is, I hope that the Moicano hype and hoopla is finally over. The guy's just not that good. He's not that great. I never really enjoyed him. Funny shtick, haha, but he's not that good of a fighter. And then the closing topic, and this is something that me and Dave kind of collaborated on last night on Discord, whether Beneil won or Moicano won, it was either going to be a Jesus shout out or a Bitcoin shout out, and both of those are Ponzi schemes. Fuck that.
Yeah, I'm not going to add much to that, I don't think. All right, next up, we have 2 flyweight bouts. One to decide the number 1 contender, and the following one to decide who they would face. We saw Joshua Van face Brandon Royval and take another unanimous decision win. Now, those 2 wins can have very different connotations. We just had 2 unanimous decisions, and I don't think I'm being too harsh when I say that they were not the most exciting fights. This time, though, oh my God, what a fight. This is what you need at 3 a.m. in the morning. This is what you need if you're a UFC fan. I was glued to my screen. I made no attempt at scoring this. I even said in the Discord between rounds that I wouldn't want to be a judge for it. From the off, these 2 just stood and banged. And well, I say stood. In reality, these 2 were in constant movement for the entire rounds. Yet again, we had a super high-level striking match between 2 warriors. Neither one willing to quit or change the direction of travel by initiating some kind of grappling. This fight, though, is a nerd's delight. If you love stats, then just sit back and listen for a moment. In 3 rounds, these 2 threw 779 total strikes. The only round they both didn't attempt 100 strikes each was the first, when Van sat back and relaxed and only bothered to throw 79 strikes. Mind you, he did hit with 52 of those, giving him 65% accuracy, and he would maintain that accuracy in the next 2 rounds in the fight, hitting the magical 69 in round 2 and giving him a 66% score at the end of the fight. And if accuracy was Van's thing, and it was, then volume was Royval's recipe. You'd think that 116 strikes in the first round was pretty energetic, but Brandon was just getting warmed up because he increased that number by 50% in round 2, trying to knock Van's head off with 174 strikes, of which he landed 50% of. And that's 87, just in case you're struggling with the maths. More or less the same in round 3, with 177 strikes and a 48% hit rate. He attempted 467 strikes, which is the most ever thrown in a 3-round fight, and he surpassed Rob Font's 441 strikes that he attempted on Marlon Vera. Funnily enough, Font lost too. Yeah, I was comparing this one to another war, the one between Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang, which is one of the best fights in the history of the sport, but that was 5 rounds. This fight was just as good. It's just a shame that somebody had to lose. Maybe we'll see it again somewhere down the road. I'd certainly love to. It did earn Fight of the Night honours, and justifiably so. And Dana said that Royval will be getting paid his win money too. Now, it's a shame Austin has been naughty and isn't here, because Joshua Van is one of his draft picks, and he's earned him a nice number of points. And he's not finished racking up those points just yet, I don't think. Fortunately, though, that saves me from hearing him shouting about it. And instead, I have to listen to this pair of gloaters, and I think it's Lazy's turn. So what's your thoughts on the fight, mate? What's next for Royval? We can say what's next for Van until after we've talked about the next fight, if you can remember. So, yeah, what we got?
Goodness gracious. Man, like you gotta take a deep breath to even talk about this fight. So much fucking happened, so much activity, just a fucking frenzy, a flurry of just, oh my fucking God. Let's go with the tagline first. The tagline for this fight, the newspaper clipping headline: a guy who calls himself Raw Dog decided to get into a dick swinging contest with a fearless flyweight who happened to be packing a Burmese python. Whew. Joshua fucking Van, huge fucking dick on that little tiny man. Huge dick. Good God. No nonsense, no hyperbole. One of the top 10 most entertaining fights in UFC history. I'm saying that right now, standing on business, as the kids say. That's my personal opinion. I'd even go so far as to say one of the top 5 most entertaining fights of the ESPN era. So since they've signed with ESPN, you name me fucking 5 fights better than that. Tell me. You can't fucking do it. Absolutely phenomenal. Great job, Dangermouse, breaking down those numbers there. Like, it's eye-popping when you look at the statistics. Like, it's groundbreaking shit. Like, this is phenomenal. Just to touch on some more of them, Joshua Van and Brandon Royval is the first UFC fight, the first fight rather in UFC history to feature both fighters landing 200 or more significant strikes each. Van with 204, Royval with 215. Their significant strike totals are also the largest and second largest ever landed in a flyweight UFC fight. So they took the number 1 and the number 2 spot in one fucking night. Like, you pointed it out, Mouse. Like, this isn't new for either guy. But when you look at it from the Van side, this is so fucking impressive what this kid is doing and what he is stringing together in this short amount of time. I will forever be salty and pissed off that Austin got to him first in our fantasy draft. I had my eyes on Van since Fury FC down in Texas when he was fucking tearing it up down there. Just every time out, this kid impresses me more. Now, granted, he's not getting tested too much in certain departments. His grappling and takedown defense certainly hasn't been put to the test by a guy the caliber of somebody that we'll be discussing soon. But, so there is still question marks surrounding him. But, man, dude, just fucking man. And another thing I got to say, the day Joshua Van discovers head movement, the entire division is fucked. I said it last night, and I maintain it, man. He gets hit far too much for my liking, similar to the Peyton Talbot discussion earlier. But that's the only knock so far. And again, bad cornering rears its head. Shame on Royval's corner for not absolutely demanding this guy fucking wrestle. Like, stop trying to have a pissing match on the feet. Van's clearly getting the better of you. He's countering like almost everything you're throwing. Just wrestle. Fucking wrestle. You have a clear advantage or an assumed clear advantage in one department. Utilize it. Don't let your ego get in the fucking way and stop you from taking the fight and take to the easiest path of victory. Like, just knock that shit off. But for Joshua Van, impeccable performance, an example of how to really utilize your tool set outside of eating Royval's jabs all night long, which seemed to do absolutely nothing because he barely had a mark on his face afterwards. Van completely negated the height and reach of Raw Dog. Like, he was able to get inside, land those hooks. Just crazy. I love this fucking kid. Him and Malcolm Wellmaker, they may be the two most like down to earth, genuinely fun guys on the roster, and they're both tearing it up right now. Couldn't be happier. Like you said, also rare cool move by Dana to give Royval his show and win, plus the fight of the night bonus in a loss. Cool move there. And then I'm going to close with a tweet from my guy, Adam Martin from MMA Oddsbreaker. He said, Josh Van got knocked out by Charles Johnson last July. He has won 5 fights since and just beat Brandon Royval to earn a title shot. He's only 23 and has trained MMA for only 5 years. He is one of the best talents I've ever seen in 15 years covering MMA. Can't argue with that. Can't wait to see what happens going forward. And fuck you, Austin, for getting this guy.
Yeah, on the stats, I could have gone. I was writing this stuff down this afternoon. I could have gone on and on and on, but I had to get the script kind of finished. Still didn't manage it. So yeah, I could have gone on and on about that. There was something else I was going to say there, but I've completely forgotten what it was now. So I will pass this one over to Dave. What you got to say on this fight, man?
Obviously, this was a great fight. Potential fight of the year. Certainly a fight of the year contender. I do kind of disagree with about Royval's corner advice not being that great. I think that Brandon likes those type of striking matches, and that's what was most comfortable in. And I think I actually had him winning round 1 and Van winning round 2, and round 3 being like super duper close until the knockdown towards the end. I mean, Van was obviously landing with more power, and you could see the reactions from Royval getting hit more. But Royval did, looking at the numbers, a lot of shots weren't weak, and a lot of them did snap Van's head back and made his like base wins and stuff. And he had a lot of good moments in that fight. I mean, the right guy won. Van clearly won round 2 and 3, but without that knockdown at the end of round 3, I don't know who wins that fight. It was really close. Lacy touched on the height difference, and I thought this was a really good example of a shorter fighter showing how to use advantages as a shorter fighter against a tall, rangy fighter. Like Roval was a taller fighter. And for large portions of the fight, he was using his range very well. Like, you see a lot of taller fighters that don't use it well, like Stefan Struve and whatnot. And he was actually doing a great job using his range, but Van was finding ways to get around that. So it was nice to see a really good example of a shorter fighter fighting effectively and using some things of the rangier fighter against him. Great fight, no takedowns, just kind of like a kickboxing match. Not much else to say on it, but hell of a fight. Can't wait to see what's next for Joshua Van. And that's not, I mean, it kind of sucks losing to the number 12 guy for Royval. That was, let's say it was a huge opportunity for Van, number 1 and 12, and Royval's going to drop a lot in the rankings, but he can come back. I didn't really like the idea of him versus Pants anyway, so it'll be nice to see a fresh matchup.
Yeah, that's for sure. The grappling side of it, I'd put down for Royval to get a submission in the second or third round. I forget which was now, and then he just didn't do it at all. So I was thinking, have I fucked up here? Have I forgotten? Have I got something wrong? Have I looked at the stats wrong here or something? I'm pretty sure Royval's pretty decent at the grappling side of things, but yeah, as Lazy said, ego got in the way on this one. I think he got smacked in the face a few times and decided, nope, we're gonna have this out. Not complaining because they gave us one of the most amazing fights certainly of the year. Maybe this possibly a Hall. I mean, I don't know if it has enough significance to make in this Hall of Fame, but it bloody well should for these numbers.
Oh, it does. This absolutely goes in the fucking Hall of Fame.
I will say Royval averages 0.75 takedowns per 15 minutes. So
what the fuck?
Okay.
That's less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes.
I was going to say, I thought he got more than that. I didn't check that. I just saw him. He had quite a few submission wins, though, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, he averages 1 submission per 15 minutes. 1.25 submission.
Yeah. Well, he didn't average any that bloody fight, did he?
No.
The last thing I want to say, because I didn't answer it for you, Mouse, what do you do next with Royval? Why don't you just rebook the fight that this was supposed to be, him versus Manel Kape?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, Royval's going to fall in the rankings, but he's not going to fall all the way to the 12 spot
No, obviously not.
Van had. So he's going to be somewhere right around where Manel Kape's at anyway. So just fucking rebook that shit.
Yep, I could live with that one. All right, as I said, another flyweight bout for the co-main, this time for the undisputed belt. And having watched the fight, it's pretty bloody undisputed who the champ is. As a 35-year-old, you remember that number? It used to be very significant, but Alexander Pantoja defeated Kai Kara-France via re-naked choke at 1 minute 55 of round 3. If you were expecting another brawl for this fight, you were either massively optimistic or a massive casual, because that's not how the cannibal eats his prey. But sticking with the stats, there was a total of 193 strikes thrown in this fight, so only 16 more than Royval threw in round 3 on his own. Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. As I said on the preview show, well, rather, I said on this preview show that I'd be happy enough if Pants just smothered Kai Kara-France for 5 rounds. And not going to lie, I was suffering from an adrenaline dump caused by the previous fight when I was watching this. And at 5 a.m. or wherever the hell time it was, my head was nodding a little bit for this one. But fortunately, I was awake to see Pants take the back and go for the kill. First, just a face crank, which I'm sure was very unpleasant for Kai, but nowhere near as unpleasant as when Pantoja finally slipped his arm underneath his chin and really sank in the choke. Can't fault Kai Kara-France. He was very, very game. He struggled manfully. Not as much as someone else that we might mention later, but eventually, as he began involuntarily showing us his war face, he decided not to take a nap and tapped out. I think I originally picked this exact result, and then I changed it to a decision never mind. 4th defense for the champ, and he has no intention of going anywhere. No double champ shit, just racking up defenses and putting himself in the conversation for comparing his career to DJ's. Not DJ Serenity now, Demetrius Johnson. Jed Meshew was pretty hot on this one and saying this is great that he's stopping and defending the belt and just not going anywhere, which I completely and utterly agree. We did see Joshua Van very calmly come out to watch the fight, as Lazy said earlier, not a bruise on his, well, hardly a bruise on his face. And he was invited into the cage to face off against the champ. So we know Pantoja's next matches. We just don't know when. It won't be in 58 days, Josh. So you can just chill out for a bit. Maybe do a few MMA classes. We just ventured a little bit. How crazy is it that a 23-year-old kid with, according to my sources, 4 years of MMA training is facing a champion the next time he fights? It's just madness. Now, Dave managed to be the only person to pick Kai Kara-France. So let's hear your thoughts on the fight, Dave. And what's next for Kai? Whatever you want, really. We've got plenty of time.
Well, I picked Kai Kara-France. I was really counting on that 35 and older stat, and like I said, I pick against Pants every time, so I didn't really want to buck the trend. I'm sure I'll pick against him next time.
Just interrupting you before you go further. I don't know if you saw it on one of the videos underneath. It was someone was commenting that you always pick against Pantoja, and I put a comment at my reply underneath it. You treat this like the rain dance. The Indians make the rain dance until it rains, and it works because you keep dancing until it rains. And that's Dave with his Pantoja picks. He's going to keep picking him to lose until he eventually loses. Keep doing the rain dance, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Rain Man, rain dance makes sense. So basically, the fight went how pretty much I think everyone on the Discord and everyone that watches MMA thought it was going to go. France did have tiny moments where he landed some strikes, but I mean, that was just all Pantoja. Kai Kara-France is never going to be that guy. He's never going to be the champ. I'm not too sure he'll be a fun gatekeeper, like in the Benil Dariush role, but maybe a little bit higher, and he'll be fun in that job. Great job, Pants. I'm sure your dad is crying in the corner.
Jesus.
Well, he's missing out on all that money.
That's true. Is that you, John Dave?
Yeah.
Pithy little comment. Yeah. All right, Lazy, you were on the side of right and picked Pantoja. What did you think of his performance, and what do you think about the Van fight in the future?
Oh, yes, I sure was on the right side of the fucking performance and the right side of the predictions here. What lies in the future? Obviously, what lies in the future for Pantoja is going to be a very tough outing against a very game Joshua Van. But like we've kind of touched on already, it remains to be seen how he handles the grappling prowess of somebody like a Pantoja. What lies ahead for Kai Kara-France? Man, I really don't know, because he's had now multiple cracks at the fucking champion here, and I don't think the champ's going anywhere for quite a while. So things looking a bit grim for him. But yeah, man, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Despite Kai Kara-France's small stature, he has a huge, massive, gaping hole in his game. And Alex Pants dropped trowel in the middle of the octagon, and he filled that hole. He filled that hole entirely and completely. The disdain and disgust, that's what I saw on Pantoja's face with regards to Kai's performance. It looked like he was offended that he even had to be in there with him again. Like it was just a disregard for the abilities of Kai, almost like Pants knew the outcome before he stepped in there. And he continues this march of his towards history. Most wins, most submissions, and most finishes in UFC flyweight history. Just inching ever closer to overtaking all of DJ's records. One of the few that remains is now the title defense records, but that's the big one. I think he's still 7 behind DJ, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's 11, and he's got 4.
Yeah. So a tough little bit of history that he's going to have to overcome there. But if anyone's going to be able to do it, despite the age and despite everything else, it looks like it's going to be a guy like Pantoja, because it's clear that his skill set and his abilities are still yet to be matched in this division. It's going to remain to be seen if Josh Joshua Van can really test him, but I'm sure we'll find out soon. I'm willing to bet we might see that fight by the end of the year, sometime towards the end of 2025. So that's going to be a fun one. One thing I got to say, the sunglasses gimmick has got to go. I said it on Discord. I'm going to quote it again. Quote Mr. Luke Thomas. You know what they call people who wear white sunglasses? An asshole. Take the fucking white sunglasses off. You look like an idiot. And then my favorite part of all this is Pantoja, like you said, Mouse, like Jed pointed out and several other people, he's completely content staying at 125, continuing to wipe out the division. And that's fucking sweet with me. I fucking love to see that. All these guys constantly wanting to move up. No offense to the Ilia Topuria supporters of the world, but I'm sick of seeing that. I want to see a guy stay and clean out his division. Let's see it. And then the closing topic here, cool moment with him and Marab embracing backstage. There's some videos of it online. Maybe I can snatch one up, but just talking to each other and kind of giving each other a hug and laughing and saying how they don't want to fight each other. They have no interest in fighting one another. So good to see that they're buds.
Yeah, that's cool. Dave, anything to add on this fight or future? Pantoja, Van, whatever.
Yeah.
Who do you think will win that fight?
I think that I don't know, man. I gotta go with. I almost gotta go with Van, just because I like to pick against Pants. But
Yes,
I mean,
of course.
no, 0 takedown defenses in his last fight. Like, I don't know. There might be that huge hole. There might be a big grappling issue. So I would not be surprised at all if Pants chokes him out fairly quick. But or by before the end of round 3. But I got to go with Van, the young Myanmar phenom.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one for Austin if those two fight, because he has to hope that Pantoja wins. Because if Van wins, it'll cost him more points. He'll lose 20 points for Pantoja. He will get 20 points back, of course, but if Pantoja just wins, he just gets 20 points and 5 points for Van.
Yeah. That's going to be a good night for Austin, points-wise.
Yeah. Of course, I just want Pantoja not to fight before the end of 25. That way he's champion at the end of the year.
We don't need Austin to be having any more good nights. He had a good enough night last night. He did fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. We can get to the draft points a little bit later. All right, main event time. Veteran and former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira faced off against former featherweight champion Ilia Topuria to claim the vacant lightweight belt. And this was one that had the fights divided. Olives has long been a fan favourite, delivering finish after finish, often coming back from blows that stunned him to take miraculous wins. Ilia Topuria, the loudmouth Spanish-Georgian, killer of fan favourites, breaker of unbreakable chins, speaker of prophecy, the man who believes, achieves and succeeds. This was a fun fight for as long as it lasted. Charles really dwarfed Ilia. He had a 5-inch reach advantage, and I'm pretty sure that makes him a statistical favourite. But then the age difference, I think that would have negated it, because I believe that made Ilia the statistical favourite. Don't you just love stats? Both fighters came out looking to establish dominance. Charles doing as he said he would and pushing forwards. Not very wise. And after the first exchange of fists, he went for the takedown and he shoved Ilia up against the cage. Continued going for the takedown, and then he proved his BJJ glass cannon status by allowing Ilia to get top position when they finally did hit the ground. Then it took him all of about 15 seconds to escape Charlie's guard, get into side control. He literally just stood up and stepped out of it. It was hilariously funny. Go back and watch it. Then 10 seconds later, he had him in a crucifix. Olives kind of escapes from it, threatens Ilia's leg with a bit of an entanglement before he also escapes, and the fights return to the vertical. Charles, however, would be doing a solo return to the horizontal just a few moments later, when Ilias was sent him crashing to the floor with a right hook, left hook combination, the left being pretty much unnecessary because the right one had sent him unconscious. We were laughing about it before the show that it just hit him on the way down as well. It was already unconscious, unnecessary. It was just as unnecessary as the hammer fist that followed it. Happy days for me, just like earlier I called it to perfection. You got to have faith, folks. You got to have faith. So let's hear from you, Lazy. Thoughts on the fights, the ring incident with Paddy, Oliveira's future, and Ilya's next fight. Any of those, any and all of those.
Well, first, I'll touch on just briefly because I'm not going to say much about it. The Paddy the Baddy thing. Dana White, shut the fuck up. Like, come on, man. Like, you are the last person to speak about morality and ethics. I don't know if you guys heard it, but he didn't like that Paddy was brought into the cage.
No, because Ilya's family was there. That was the reason.
Yeah. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Come on. Like, get out of Dodge. It was a fucking publicity moment. You knew nothing was going to happen. You had fucking 5, 6, 7, 8 security guards in there. Everything's fine. Anyway, so yeah, I think that obviously that is the next fight that they're going to make. I think that Arman Sarukian's going to get skipped because I think Paddy the Baddy is a much bigger fight. I think that's a bigger pay-per-view draw. And yeah, I think that meritocracy does not exist in the UFC. This is a reality show. And I think that you're most certainly going to see Paddy the Baddy versus Ilia Topuria coming soon. But let's circle back. Let's circle the wagons. Let's go back to the headline of this fight. And the headline is, a matador draped in gold presents you a rose, but every rose has a thorn. And this one is a dangerous and nasty little prick. God, this fucking motherfucker. This is killing all of our fucking legends, killing all of our heroes, one by one, putting their dicks in the dirt. It's a sad sight to see. A fight with a surprising amount of answers despite the short cage time. Also a fight that raises plenty of questions in its wake. Lots of things to discuss. I have a feeling we're going to be hearing about this for weeks and weeks to come in the podcasting world, ourselves included. Some of the questions and some of the answers. Did Ilya's power carry? Yes, clearly his power fucking carried. Did he look noticeably small? Yeah, he kind of did. But it was sort of an advantage. I kind of think it was an advantage. I think it worked out for him, that small stature. And I think it may continue to work out for him. Would he test his ground game against Charles? Yes. And like you mentioned, Dangermouse, frankly, outside of that possible leg lock, which really was nothing, he looked dominant. The crucifix position, it looked like he may very well end the fight there. It looked like it was around the bend, approaching soon. He was not hesitant to tangle with Charles on the ground. And not only was he not hesitant, he looked more than skilled enough and more than capable enough to hang down there with the most dangerous BJJ guy in UFC history. That says a fucking lot. And then lastly, for questions and answers, is Charles Oliveira really a glass cannon? Yes, the fuck he is. Yes, he is. He absolutely fucking is. Like, he's a dangerous man offensively, but defensively, as everyone has pointed out for quite some time now, he's not sound. He does not have the skills necessary to walk forward and try to march down a guy like Ilia Topuria. That's not going to work. That was a terrible game plan. And then on top of that, he doesn't have the ability to fight backwards, which is something Ilya pointed out today in social media. So it was kind of a lose-lose situation for Charles. And that's exactly what it turned out to be. The first time he touched Charles, he deaded him. He sandbagged him. It looked like Charles got hit with a taser. He went down like a fucking sack of bricks. Yeah, just the Matador is who he says he is. He is La Leyenda, whatever the fuck he wants to call himself. He can change his name every 3 months. He's that guy. And I'll end with a couple of tweets here. First, a tweet from a referee with a lot of experience, a guy who has seen fights across the globe, a guy who's probably... What's that?
I said I know this tweet. I think I actually replied to it. Mark Goddard.
Yes, indeed, Mark Goddard. This guy who's seen fucking more fights in front of his face than we'll ever witness in our lifetime. And he said, witnessing greatness just feed in front of me. I wish that I could explain, but I can't. MMA is such a heartfelt sport. Fortunate beyond belief, grateful beyond measure. I'm just Mark from Birmingham. Crazy. This is a dude who's fucking seen it all, and he's fucking tweeting out poems about fucking Ilia Topuria. Like, come on, dude. And then the last tweet that I want to mention is an AB tweet, Aaron Bronstetter. There are 2 Georgian UFC champions, which is the same amount as American and Brazilian UFC champions combined. There are only 5 Georgian fighters on the UFC roster. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Crazy.
These guys are dominating. Ilia Topuria, hate him or love him, and I have hated him, and am now starting to grow to love him. The guy's fucking phenomenal. He might be one of the best pound for pound MMA fighters we've ever seen. So it is what it is.
Yeah, as you were saying, in that fight, he started off, he got his jab established, he worked out what his range needed to be, he jabbed Charlie in the face a few times, jabbed into the body a few times, established what he was going to do, and when Charles did start coming forward, he left a gaping hole in his defence. He dropped his hand from his chin, and Ilya was happy to replace that with his own chin. So, Dave, anyway, your thoughts on the same stuff? You know, the fight, the ring incident, whatever, any of the stuff that happened?
I didn't see the ring incident, but you know, on our pick show, I picked Ilya to kind of win, and I kind of expected it to go like that. But then on the Discord picks, kind of last minute, I changed to Charles. I was kind of hoping for one of those performances where an old champ goes in and like he'd win by dominant wrestling, and we'd be like, oh yeah, that's all right, he can wrestle and stuff. But that wasn't the case, and Ilya just destroyed him. It was very cool to see. You know, Ilya had his grappling tested at 155, and it looked more than strong enough. Like you guys mentioned, I was almost kind of shocked by how easy he got into crucifix position, and I don't know if I thought the fight was going to end there, but it seemed like dire straits, like not good for Olive. So yeah, Ilya got the KO. I think the fight ended up going how pretty much everyone expected it to go, except for the Charles hopefuls. You know, Ilya is him. Max wasn't him. It turns out it was Ilya the whole time. I think I like the Paddy fight over Armin because I think it's kind of a meme to me and just hilarious that Armin not getting a title shot. And I think that Ilya will fucking pound the shit out of Paddy, even though I like Paddy way more. And I kind of hope that happens, and then he goes and fights Islam and retires, and he might be a legitimate threat for someone like Islam. So I'm really excited for the future. I think he's here for a good time, not a long time. He might only have 2 fights left. Like, I think before this fight, there was a narrative that he had 3 fights left on his contract. I might be thinking about someone else.
No, that was the rumor provided by Lazy, I believe.
So, you know, in my mind, he goes and fights Paddy, and then he fights Islam, and if he wins, he retires. And I'm not saying he will be Islam, but man, that fight looks like an all-timer based on what we saw last night. So, you know, I think you guys covered pretty much everything else. I don't know what's next for Charles, but you know, he's probably sniffed his he's not going to have another title shot, I don't think, at this point, unless something crazy happens. So he's going to be in the gatekeeper role too if he continues to fight. So great job, Ilya. I'm excited to see both of them fight again either way, but holy smokes, Ilya did great.
You know, last thing I want to say before we move on from this, and this might be the hottest take that I've ever dropped on Just Bleed Radio airwaves. If Ilya and Islam fight, Islam gets hit. He does get touched in his fights. He's been knocked out before. I think Ilia Topuria, if he faces Islam Makhachev, I think Ilia Topuria knocks Islam the fuck out.
Well, you were just talking about the pound for pound stuff. I saw, again, tweets, because I did drift onto X today. Someone was talking about who you would rate, how you'd rate these two as pound for pound. Who's the best now? Is it Ilya or is it Islam? And I was like, I don't really rock massively with the pound for pound shit. I'm kind of on the Tom Aspinall scene with this one. It doesn't really make much sense for much. But in this one, we have two guys that are around at the same time who can fight each other. It would be kind of silly, I think, if we saw them fighting at welterweight, because we'd have a featherweight fighting a lightweight for the welterweight belt. That's a weird, strange thing that could happen there. But yeah, we could see those two fight. And yeah, like you, Lazy, I was thinking about it. I was like, for the first time, I could see Islam being knocked out because, as you said, he was knocked out in that first fight. He has been knocked out before. So yeah, maybe. Never thought I'd say that, but yeah, possible. I did
And Ilya is the only one that's close to like a double champ right now. Like he's not a double champ, but he kind of is.
Well,
Yeah,
really, yeah, he is really, because we know he'd beat Volk if he fought him again. Volk's under the champ because he gave up the belt, and Volk beat Lopez. So we'll use MMA maths and say that Ilya would have beaten him too.
And the thing is, too, like I was saying, Islam doesn't come out of his fights unscathed. He comes out of his fights a little bit dinged up. Other than the Jai Herbert fight where, Ilya on short notice did get dropped by that head kick, he's come out of all of his fights virtually unscathed, not a mark on him, to the point where, I don't know if you guys saw this last night or caught this, but this was intentional. His wife was wearing white last night. You know why she was wearing white? Because
so he told her any blood.
Yeah, he told her, "I won't be bleeding. You won't have to worry about getting any blood on you."
That's ballsy.
Jesus, bro, the balls on this guy.
That is crazy. Okay, anyway, it's time for the best of the rest, and I know Lazy has at least one to go, so let's start with him. What you got from the prelims or early prelims?
Yeah, obvious choice, man. Got to go with my guy. Got to go with my my draft pick, Jacoby Smith here. A lot of people kind of shitting on him for his performance against Nico Price. Yeah, I'll admit his cardio looked a little bit questionable after that first round. But I don't think that that's necessarily anything to fucking cause alarm or to call a red flag just yet. The kid's super young in his fucking career. He was in there against a guy that he admittedly, like I had said prior to this show, he didn't even study. He didn't do any film study or any watching tape on Nico. He just went in there completely blind, balls to the wall, and, ran into a crafty, wily old vet that's, surprisingly durable, despite what we may have seen in the Robbie Lawler fight, which I think that might have been somebody throwing a fight, but nevertheless, yeah, man, just Jacoby is, you could see in the rawness that he has, there's still a lot of polishing that has to go on. There's still a lot of, maximizing his potential that needs to occur, and maybe some fight IQ that needs improved upon. But he is, as far as raw talents go, one of the most impressive guys that's come into the UFC in recent years. He's an absolute blue chipper in athletic ability, and I think that going forward, he's still going to be a major fucking problem. And if bettors count him out next go around because they felt like this was a little bit too sweaty for their money, you're going to lose some cash. You bet against this guy. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I'm disgusted with Jacoby Smith. I picked him for a first round TKO, and he got a second round submission. First bloody submission in his entire career, I believe.
It was a good one too. He jumped right the fuck on that neck.
Oh yeah, it's good stuff. Dave, you got any fights from the undercard that you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. I got a quick shout out for two fights. First one would be Terrence McKinney versus
Vyacheslav, yeah.
Yeah, what you said.
Slav close.
Yeah. Terrence McKinney normally gets a done fight, wins fast or loses. And he not only wins fast by a KO, he also wins fast by a submission. And hell of a performance from him. I was worried about his arms gassing out because it looked like he modified the choke attempt a few times and was squeezing what felt for like ever. And I was like, oh man, if this guy doesn't get it, his arms are going to be done. But it didn't matter. So great performance to him. And I liked Slava Claus being a good sport and still wearing his Santa Claus hat at the end of the fight. And great job for McKinney. And a quick shout out to RoboCop Rodriguez versus Jack Hermanson. I picked Jack Hermanson. I'd been a fan of his, but, he used to fight out of Sweden, and now he's fighting out of Norway, so I'm not that upset because he's kind of a traitor. Hell of a KO from Rodriguez. I think he got a bonus for it. Yeah, you got a knockout of the night bonus, so great job from RoboCop. Can't wait to see him fight again. And tough loss for Jack.
A lot of people talking shit on RoboCop for that follow-up shot. I don't think it was that bad.
It wasn't any worse than Topuria.
Yeah, and I mean, Is it not, fight until you're stopped? Like, I get it, you can walk away, but you're in there with Hokey Pokey Herb Dean. You really want to leave it up to chance?
Oh, no. And also, one quick shout out to Tracy Cortez with her mechanical doping with those weird ass fucking MMA approved eyelash extensions. Didn't you say she had like MMA approved, like some kind of fancy eyelashes or something?
Yeah, she called them her fight eyelashes.
Yeah.
Now, I think Daz further clarified what that might mean, but I don't remember what the fuck he was saying.
Yeah. Sounds like mechanical doping.
Yes, on the McKinney fight against Slava Klaus, we were laughing again in the Discord because Slava Klaus seemed to be doing his Russian dancing while he was laid on his back, desperately trying to escape that choke. So we're having a little giggle about that. I'm sure it wasn't funny for him, but we thought it was. And as you said, the G-Rod KO, that was just evil. It would have been fantastic if he had just walked away from it, but as we've already said, I don't like Herb Dean that much, so yeah, it's his fault. And the last one I have to bring up was Jose Miguel Delgado defeating Haider Almil by a KO by knees and elbows at 26 seconds of round one. 26 seconds left.
God.
That was so. I was literally watching the fights. I glanced down to look at something on the other screen, and I turned around and Amil's lying on the floor. I'm like, I didn't even know which color shorts people were wearing. I'd taken that little attention. Like, fuck, what happened? So yeah, that was an amazing knockdown.
Yeah, I think the knee kind of came from like a clinch position, didn't it?
No,
Yeah.
Is it? I thought
Yeah, it was a knee.
I thought he'd leapt into it from. Yeah, I thought he'd stepped away and followed him.
Oh, it was kind of like a combination of both. I think he kind of had the plum tie a little bit, but then sort of leaped in.
Oh.
But either way, man, God, did he fucking floor him? And tough scenes, dude, because I like Haider Almil, and that's a heavy blow for a 34-year-old prospect.
35, I think.
35, even fucking worse.
That's why I didn't pick him.
I was thinking the knee kind of reminded me a little bit of what's his face, Dariush versus Arman Sarukian. I think he kind of caught him with the knee, a little similar to that, but maybe not.
All credit to Haider. He popped right the fuck back up, and he was acting like he was ready to go, but he was not ready to go.
I don't think he thought he'd been knocked out, did he?
No, I don't think. Yeah, I think it was one of those deals. Yeah.
What's going on? I want to fight. All right, I guess then there's only one thing left to do on this, and that's rate this card. So, Dave, Mr. Editor, what are you going to rate this one?
I didn't expect to go first, but I think I'm gonna give this one a 8. It would be a 7 worthy card, but with the finishes, it felt like a 7 up until like the last 3 fights, and then Van versus Royale was really great. I'll go 8.5 because they deserve an extra 1.5 for the 2 finishes in the main and co-main, and Van versus Royale 8.5.
Okay, I'm curious now. Go on, Lazy. I'm going to make you go for second. I do have roughly a score in mind. So.
Yeah, I got me a score. I think I kind of gave away my enthusiasm earlier when I said, in the opening, the UFC is back, man. The UFC is fucking back. There was skepticism and talk from the fan base about not being too happy with this International Fight Week card. It was maybe a little bit lackluster, and I guess you could argue that. Yeah, you could. But all in all, I think it really delivered. 6 finishes, 5 decisions, fun fighters, high stakes, memorable moments, a couple of highlight reel stoppages, fantasy draft points running amok. This one had it all, man. It was, as an IFW should. It could have been given more attention. It could have had a few more bigger names, sure. But all in all, I think it was a fantastic night of fights. Whenever we have a sloppy, bummy night of fights, like of meaty middleweights or fat heavyweight fights at the Apex. They should just rerun that Van Briss Roy Ball fight and give them another fight at the night bonus. We'll just skip that one altogether. Yeah, and I'm going to continue my thing of shouting out tweets here, and I'm going to include a tweet from my guy Dan Tom here in the rating. Only 2 fights north of 170 tonight, you say? Heavyweight slop fest curtain jerking like it should, you say? A 155 and under main card, you say? Entertaining night, you say? Maybe card formatting and quality are important, people, and maybe the lighter weight divisions deserve more respect. I gotta fucking agree. I thought that this was a phenomenal night. UFC 317 really delivered. And I'm gonna do a Dangermouse here and give it a decimal. I'm gonna go 8.75 just to go over Dave.
Wow. That's interesting because I thought about just doubling my score from last week, which have been 444 to 888, but I don't think so. And surprisingly, I'm going to be the ultimately generous one here because I really, really enjoyed this card. I started watching it at 12 and I'd stop until 6:30 in the morning to watch it. And apart from a brief moment where I was a little bit tired, this card kept me awake. It kept me entertained. I wasn't involved in chat rooms really, just a little bit on the Discord. So I'm gonna do the Austin moment on this one and score it for Austin. Maybe I think I'm gonna give this one time for an emergency. 9/11, 911.
BC.
Yeah, score for BC.
I will point out this did feel more like a really good pay-per-view card than a International Fight Week. Like I didn't pick up many International Fight Week vibes this whole week myself, but that just because I'm old.
They've been slacking at IFW for the last several years. Like it's been a while since it's had that true, it's supposed to be their biggest, card of the year. It's supposed to be their Super Bowl, and you're right, it doesn't really feel like it much anymore.
Well, Guru was ranting about it because they've been promoting boxing in the middle of International Fight Week. It's an MMA week, really.
And UFC BJJ and Slap Fest or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. It's just WWE week now, isn't it? So,
yeah, feels like it.
Any other news from the week anyone wants to go over?
PFL happened this past Friday.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the one in about a month. That's one I won't see.
Yeah, your girl was there in attendance. The only person I wanted to shout out from PFL, though, was Alexander Romanov, who won a fight and advanced in the tournament by getting kicked in the balls and stretchered out of the fucking smart cage.
Wow.
Funniest thing I've ever seen. It's gotta be a meme for the ages. You kicked in the fucking nuts and then carried out on a fucking stretcher.
Get away. That's hilarious. After having sorry, Dave, go on.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if they've taken effect yet, but the rules or the scoring criteria got changed a little bit this week or something.
Did it?
It's being voted on.
It's being voted on. Okay, so it's not a thing yet. It's not.
Yeah, they're looking to change it though. They want to amend it.
More focus on the actual damage, the big D word.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point fighting.
Really, really screwing those pale skinned gingers that show damage easily.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of little bits and things. Obviously, we've had the resolution somewhat of the heavyweight division. So we've now got Tom Aspinall waiting. We don't know who he's going to fight. Everyone suspects it's going to be Cyril Gane. But I did hear some talk with Tom, and he was saying his rules for life. And it could be very bad news because the UFC heavyweight division isn't exactly massive as it is. And he has now said that he will not fight anyone he has eaten with or who has been in his house. So that means anyone who's trained at his gym, he does not want to fight them, which is pretty horrible. It's good news for Mick Parkin. But I wonder I guess if one of the guys at his gym, while he's champion, says, I don't care, I want to fight you, he's not going to have the choice, is he? But yeah, did hear that one. And the other thing is, it's official that Tom has a ruby on his belt already. I don't know if you saw it.
Ooh.
I don't know if you saw it in. There's a little video with that Tom Aspinall released, and it's him watching Charlie Olives getting knocked out and they getting up to the crowd. And Israel Adesanya comes in and is sat on the row behind him, and they're chit chatting away. And I don't know how it came up because it's only a shortish thing he does. Because he says something about I've got a ruby on my belt, and I didn't hear the reply from Izzy. But yeah, apparently there was a little red ruby already on Tom's belt, so he already.
I heard the reply.
Defense. You what, sorry?
I heard what Izzy said.
Oh yeah, what did he say? Oh.
He said paper ruby, paper belt, paper champ.
I'm sure he didn't.
Oh,
And if he did, Tom would just laugh at him.
the UFC Hall of Fame induction ceremony happened over the weekend. Several people got inducted. I gave a brief breakdown for anyone that cared on, I think it was the JBR Discord. But for the most part, the takeaways were Robbie Lawler is as bad of a public speaker as you think he is. He's very, very bad, very awkward. It seemed extremely nervous. Kept going, it's pretty funny. Amanda Nunes showed her kids off like cattle. She literally like trotted them out on stage and like made them stand and pose in front of the audience. And this is my rig and this is my and fucking it was hilarious. And then the surprisingly best speech of the night for anyone that goes back and watches it, I doubt anyone will. Mark Kerr, who has the movie coming out with The Rock, the Smashing Machine movie. I figured that with that guy's fight history, now granted I haven't seen an interview with him in fucking years, but I figured with his fight history and the amount of times he'd been knocked out that he would be a bit punch drunk. No, very well spoken, gave the best speech of the night, very heartfelt, and yeah, if you want to watch any of the speeches from the Hall of Fame ceremony, go back and watch the Mark Kerr.
I did not. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Holly Holm found a way to well install her way to the victory in a boxing match.
She did. Congratulations, Holly. Yeah. Okay. And there's no fights next week, are there?
Mm-mm.
Right.
Nope. 4th of July weekend, I believe.
Oh, shit. Yeah, of course it is, yeah. All right, that just about wraps it up from us this week. There is no UFC next week. We will maybe try and find something to put out for you. A Sunday night scuffle. I don't know. We will try and find something to do for you for your 4th of July weekend. And happy Independence Day to all you treacherous colonial bastards for next week. Until then, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do so. And we will be back later. And it's good night from Dangermouse. It's good night from Dave. It's good night from Lazy. It's probably good night from Austin. Maybe I should let him out of the cupboard by now. So yeah, let's wrap this thing up. Let's say goodbye, guys.
Peace.
Goodbye.
See you, motherfuckers.
Good night.
Nighty night. Keep your butthole tight.
Night, John boy.
Oh, shit. I miss you, Austin. Clean it over twice.
Rushed to get us here and now he's fucked off. Where are you, Dave?
Officer down. Officer down.
Speaker of